What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. All right, Midday Monologue Monday. Couldn't get here fast enough. How's it going, everyone? Good to see you. Well, no, good knowing you're there. How's everyone doing? Hope you have a good week ahead of you. And me, it's going to be a great week. Anytime this is involved, it's a great time for me. And that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I want to talk about growing one's table, I guess is a good way to put it. Because it doesn't always happen overnight like magic. Sometimes it's a process, and that's what I'm here to talk about. It was certainly a process for me. All right, so why don't you join me down the table, and then together, my friends, we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Come on, I'll see you down the table. Yeah, we all approach Dungeons and Dragons in our own particular way. And that's one of the most beautiful things about the game. It's been completely enduring ever since its first incarnations, I guess. Now, me personally, I remember the day. It was August. I was 8 years old, so that means it was the summer of '77. And me and a few friends, we were trying to figure out what to do. We're going to go down and the park and play sports, which wasn't always the best for me because I was the biggest kid around and nobody wanted to be on the opposite team than me. And then a couple of brothers, these siblings that we knew from the neighborhood, came running down from their building, from their apartment, and like, hey, we got this new game called Dungeons and Dragons. We need some players. Who wants to play? So me, Anthony, Dennis, we headed with them upstairs to their apartment, and that's my first encounter of Dungeons and Dragons. And it was all theater of the mind. Everything was theater of the mind. We imagined everything. There was no miniatures, there was no tiles, there was no geomorphs, there was no chits or tokens, anything. It was all in our mind. We didn't even have graph paper and pencil. Well, we had pencils to write up our character sheets. But that's it. Everything else was in our minds. And what stories this game told us. What adventures it led us on. But then things happened. Our DM was not a great guy and ended up abandoning us. So I took over the group, ended up getting Dungeons & Dragons myself, and that's when I discovered the use of graph paper. Oh yeah, it turned out to be a huge boon in the game. Even though some mistakes were made translating my descriptions, especially turns around the corners and stuff, they always seemed to be 5 feet too much or 5 feet too less. But it was fun and it was worth it, and it really did help the party to understand what was going on. Especially when I would map out a room and I would say, okay, this is where the orcs are. What do you do? So we could see exactly where it was without, before we had miniatures. I ventured into the miniature realm a little bit with Raoul Partha and with Grenadier, had some pewter figures back in the day. Dennis was really good at painting them. I never got very good at that at all. I gave that up. But yeah, the figures were nice. But I didn't have enough of them. And you know what? They really weren't size appropriate. Like the Cyclops was the same size as your elf fighter. So although they were cute, we didn't use them very much. Then, a few years into Advanced D&D, I talked my dad into buying me a sheet of plywood, a 3x3 sheet of plywood with a whole bunch of 2x4s. And I used this toolkit to saw, hammer, and nail, and I made, obviously it was a very static, unmoving, but I made a maze. And it was awesome. It was fun, and we used this in the game. And so many of my homemade, homebrewed adventures that I came up with, we would almost always go back to the maze. And the Raoul Partha figures played a little bit bigger part during this time. And I was good with this. I was good with this throughout first edition. I was good with this throughout second edition. Third edition came along, and something very interesting happened. We used a little bit of graph paper, but at the time it had really gone backwards to a school of imagination kind of gaming. And then one Christmas, my group surprised me, and they got me a Dwarven Forge Master Set, which I still have to this day. Rules and Passages Master Set. And then shortly after that, they got me the Wicked Editions 2 box set. They're both right there. Still have them, still use them, but it changed my perspective on everything. The idea, the concept to build up the room, the encounter. Now, with Wizards of the Coast at that time in 2000, when they took over Dungeons and Dragons, they came out with a series which they still put out of pre-painted plastic miniatures. Boom! This just blew my mind. Really cool, awesome miniatures, pre-painted, plastic. So I feel like they're gonna, and they can bend a little bit, but I feel like they're gonna be stronger than the metal. Gonna be better than the metal minis that we used. So that literally changed everything. And from that point on, I knew that no matter how great the stories I DM'd were, no matter how much my players loved me as a DM, I needed to take it another step. So I was buying up whatever I could as far as tiles and terrain goes. And then I discovered something a little bit cheaper than Dwarven Forge and resin pieces. And that was cardboard. Good, strong, quality cardboard. Terra Clips with their buildings of Malifaux and streets of Malifaux, am I saying that word right? Were great. I ended up getting like 2 of the building sets, and I got the Forsaken Prison set, and to be able to use this to build together like a puzzle what buildings and structures I needed at the time was amazing. I literally feel like it elevated, visually speaking, it elevated my tabletop experience with the gang. And ever since then, I've been on a quest to continue this, which is why I have this entire shelf right over here, which is all dedicated from top to bottom, 5 levels, is just for my D&D stuff, the terrain stuff, the tile pieces, from the coolest DM screen you've ever seen that Gale Force 9 put out. Anthony T-Bone found these 2 towers. There's another one right behind it, which is really cool, and they come apart and everything, so that's sweet. And now, although the Buildings of Malifaux stuff, they don't publish anymore. That they gave up on. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. But now I'm concentrating on something new, and that's battle systems. Their cardboard terrain stuff is off the hook. It's fantastic. It's wild. I can't get enough of it. Well, at least the fantasy series right now. I have almost everything I need for the fantasy series. I couldn't buy the whole village set and everything all at once. That was too much. But to buy it piece by piece, it was far less expensive than delving into more resin stuff like Dwarven Forge or Legendary Realms. No, this was better. Sure, it's cardboard. It's not going to stand up. But as long as you protect it and take care of it, yeah, it's going to last the long run. So that's my history of me growing my table as a DM, and now I'm at the point now where I'm so actively looking for more and more good cardboard terrain stuff, and we're running out of it. I'm gonna have to do a video special just on paper terrain, cardboard terrain stuff, because there's not a lot out there right now, and there should be more. There should either there should be more because of more companies should be stepping in, or the companies that are already available that are doing this need to put out more. I'm loving this stuff. I can't get enough of it. It's amazing. So how do you build your table? How do you play or DM? Do you guys use all theater of the mind? Some graph paper? Or do you use 2D tiles? Or maybe the full 3D resin tiles or cardboard tiles? What do you use? How do you dress your table for RPG Day? It's a great subject because it looks amazing. All right, everyone, thank you very much for checking this out and listening to me ramble about my favorite pastime of all time, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm your buddy Big John G, the Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.